In light of Mr. Tata's express wishes. So after the students, so thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Please.
Hi, I'm Leon. I'm an exchange student from Mexico. And my question is, how important is to be your own leader, like a leader for yourself, before trying to lead a whole organization?
To be your own leader or to lead?
Yeah, to be your own leader, to like be a complete person, to know your values exactly.
If I understand your question, I think you have to decide what you want to be and what you want to project, and then you lead on the basis of what you believe in and what you have come to be known for. I entered business. I followed Mr. Ratan Tata, who had a very legendary position in the business world, and the transition was somewhat sudden from him to me. And I was faced with the dilemma of, which is the normal reaction when you step into a big person's shoes, or somebody who has big shoes, as the case may be, that you wonder and think that you have to be a clone of that person to lead an organization that he has built. And I think everyone has to realize that they cannot be, however legendary that person may be, they cannot morph themselves into that character, and that they have to end up being their own person. So the answer to your question is that you have to be your own leader as you think the group or the enterprise has to be led, on your principles, on your projected behavior. But the important thing is that you set the tone, you set the standards. You can't expect others to have a standard if you don't maintain it yourself. You have to make the personal sacrifices because you cannot expect others to do it unless you set the example. So you have to lead by example and not by exception. Then you have an organization which, by and large, responds to you and your leadership. Any compromise you make is a compromise that everyone will exploit.
So if you get your question, and then we'll head back to the students. Sure.
Hello, Mr. Tata. My name is Dr. Chiu. China and Singapore and India have different methods of development. There are advantages and disadvantages of both models. Can you make some comment on that? Second question is, what do you think is the future of China and India economic and business cooperation?
What do you think about China?
So I think the first question you were asking was the difference between China and India, was it?
Method of
Economic
governance and economic development. We'd like to make some comments on that. Second question is, what do you think is the future of China and India's economic and business development? How will things pan out?
I think in terms of cooperation, is that right?
Cooperation or whatever, in view of the 1960 border war, especially.
Okay. Unfortunately, and if one speaks honestly, our two countries are not as close they should or could be. To a great extent, I think India has been in self-denial to what China has done or can be. For many years, when China had high growth, India sort of thought it was a bubble that would burst and was unrealistic. But China has done great things and has passed India by in many, many areas. And I really believe that India and China would forge a very powerful economic bloc if we were to find a way to work together and to cooperate. Much more than we have done. It hasn't been easy. I think India has a lot to gain from Chinese companies and the manner in which Chinese do business. Chinese companies do business, because the way they have succeeded has been exemplary to us, and it should be so to the government also, because the Chinese government has played a very large and important role in the growth of enterprise in China. There are many political issues that need to be resolved. There's a concern India has of a repeat of the 1962 problem that they had, territorial problem that existed. And there are issues today of concern as to who is going to dominate the oceans around India and China. Each country has its own views on that. But I think perhaps one way is for business corporations to do more with Chinese companies. In our case, for example, the biggest investment we will make as a group with China is Jaguar and Land Rover building a joint venture plant in China that will export products from that plant to markets all over the world. It's the first time that company, the Jaguar, has ever gone to China or gone out of the UK. And it's going to be a remarkable eye-opener in terms of how our Chinese partner will bring ingenuity and creativity to that job, and we should be open to it. So I think corporations should do more to talk to each other and make this bond.
So maybe you can have one from the top first, then one from the bottom.
Morning, sir. My name is Sukriti. I'm a final year student at SMU. My question is, if you can remember one such day which was probably the most eventful day for you in your career with Tata Group.
So the most eventful day,
Yeah.
24 hours specific.
No, just something that played out, the most important event maybe.
We have expanded it to events. So.
This is getting very difficult. The exam from SMU is getting to be exceedingly difficult, and I can't think of what that would be. And I'm not ducking your question, but I really don't know.
Maybe you can share a significant.
But
Maybe you can share a significant event.
So this event could count if you want.
I won't be wrong in boss.
I think we'll give him some time to think about it. If it comes up, the most significant day or event, sir, so that you can leave that to percolate.
My mind is trying to race through to how to respond to that. And I guess I could say that the day that JRD told me that I would be the chairman of the group an eventful day. Is that the most eventful? I don't know. I can't answer. Is the day that I stepped away the most eventful day? The freedom that I gained, so is that the most eventful day? I don't know how to respond. Maybe one day when something emerges as a significant one, I can tell my leader here, communicate that to you.
Thank you for your question. Could we have some please?
Good morning, sir. I'm Asim. I'm a first-year student from SMU. And I'm from Mumbai. And I've always wanted to know what went through your head when you first heard the news about 26/11. And basically, how does someone in your position react to something like that at a professional and a personal level?
26/11 was something I hope doesn't happen again. It happened very suddenly. I'm talking a bit from my experience, and I'm trying to keep my answer from rambling too much. It happened suddenly, and somebody calling me up and saying that there'd been some shooting at the Taj hotel, and that turned into what it did for a long period of time, not knowing what it was. The police were there very fast. We couldn't get the Chief Minister's attention fast enough to get the commandos down there. So all of that being the case, all we could do at that time, it was the first 3 days of the gunfight, was in the hands of the commandos. So all we could do was to mitigate this from outside the hotel for those 3 days. And where we really stepped in was to support our people who were in the hotel or out of the hotel through those 3 days, in terms of giving them support, infrastructure, the guests, etc. The real heroes of those 3 days were, I think, the staff of the Taj, and not all of us, because we couldn't do anything. It's that the staff was the one that protected the employees who took the risks, who got injured or killed as such. What we did afterwards was that we considered that everybody who was there that day was a hero, and that we had to close the hotel for a period of time, that we would consider everybody to be on the job through that time rather than lay people off, that those who died, their families would continue to get remuneration on behalf of the person who died, as though they were alive until they reached retirement age, that we would try to send their children to school if they were minor children and pay for their education. And in some cases, provide jobs for children who now didn't have a parent to deal with. We created a trust, which the public contributed very generously to help anybody that was disadvantaged. There were people outside the hotel, in the railway station, etc., who suffered. And we have dispersed those funds. So we have tried to be as socially conscious as we could beyond the hotel. And it was a situation that the city had to face. The one thing I said in the first day was probably the true feeling of what we felt, that these terrorists had thought they could destroy us. They may have brought us to our knees, but they didn't destroy us, and we rebuilt they found out that Bombay wasn't a soft target, that it rose to the occasion, and it survived that. I hope it never happens again.
Yeah, one from the top.
Good morning, Mr. Tata. I'm Meena Khare. I'm a business student from the National University of Singapore. My question to you is that in your very long and successful tenure as the chairman of the Tata Group, what is the toughest decision that you had to make, or the biggest challenge that you faced, and how you overcame that particular challenge?
In the meantime, sir, to buy some time for you, if there's anyone else who would like to add on to this question, this is if you have a related question or something you might want to add on, perhaps you could address that now so that you won't have to wait too long. Is there anyone else who would? Toughest challenge, the question is, yes ma'am.
Maybe to choose the successor is one of your toughest challenges. So my question is related to that. Your leadership style is proven to be successful, but in which ways, which particular areas do you hope mystery leads the organization differently from yourself? Thank you.
Your successor, she was asking.
It's the same thing I tried to describe in my case when I took over. I think I would like my successor to be, I think a non-negotiable part of the carryover is what the group stands for in terms of values and integrity. That's really the most precious thing we have and should be guarded by my successor and his successors in the future. But I have been saying that my successor should be his own man. There may be different things that he chooses to do or do things differently from what I did.
In particular, one or two areas you hope he does differently from yourself?
I don't think I should dwell on that. But let me say that there have been things that perhaps he views differently from me. And it's human nature that you always think that what you did was the best thing for the organization. And we should be truthful enough to say that there could be another way that might be better. So, in answer to the greatest challenge, perhaps the greatest challenge at this time is not to feel sensitive about the fact that you did this and this person is doing that, but to when you say that he should be his own man and he should have his space, then give him that space and give him that time and let him learn or enjoy, learn from his mistakes or enjoy the benefits of what he's done right.
Thank you.
I believe Mr. Tata has answered your question. Or do you have any follow-up?
No, not entirely. What about your time as the chairman of the Tata Group? What was the biggest challenge then?
Sorry, please?
What about your time as the chairman of the Tata Group? What was your biggest challenge then?
What was the challenge then? Very quickly, the challenge was that I think anybody feels is how do you gain the respect and the support of an entire organization that for 50 years has been under another person. And the truth is that the challenge of that is that you don't again go from compromise to compromise and trying to please everybody, but you do whatever, you take a little time to do what you believe is right. Not kind, but right and fair to all. I think that's all I could say.
Thank you so much.
Dear Mr. Tata, my name is Lin Yiming. I'm a PhD student in SMU and I'm from China. So I have two questions. So one is about philanthropy and the other about auto industry.
I'm sorry, I think in interest of time, because there are still a few other speakers, perhaps just one question.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you,
so
sir.
I ask for the philanthropy question. So philanthropy is in everyday life in your for you and in Tata Group. So what do you think about the biggest problem in modern philanthropy? I would like to modern philanthropy. So the way people do philanthropy, something like that.
The biggest problem involved?
Yeah, in modern philanthropy, the way people do philanthropy.
Okay, our philanthropy in the group is grant giving. We don't undertake many projects ourselves. And our biggest problem in this, first of all, about 65% of all the dividends of Tata's flow back into our philanthropic trust. So they're the largest shareholders of the Tata Group and the largest beneficiaries of the dividend flow. Individual companies also spend money on improving the conditions of the people around the plants where we serve education, medical, etc. The largest problem that we find in the grant giving area is finding NGOs or organizations that will serve those communities and operate themselves very professionally. So where to give the money and where to, and the complexities of monitoring how that money is being used is, in my view, the greatest problem that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go back to this side, please?
Good morning, sir. My name is Devashi. I'm an international exchange student from Canada. And my question to you is, given the current political, social, and economic structure of India, what potential do you think Indian companies have to take on corporate social responsibility initiatives and actually make an impact? For example, if they were compared to North American corporations.
What do we need to do or what do we do in terms of social responsibility?
Yeah, Tata Group or just even other Indian corporations.
We totally disperse about 4% of our net profit collectively in terms of meeting our social responsibility. In fact, serving our social responsibility. It's something that goes up and down based on the need. For example, whenever there's a calamity, an earthquake or a tsunami, the Tata Group people will leave their jobs with our knowledge and go and work in a primitive area to help bring back, rebuild a village or whatever it may be. And it's a unit called the Tata Relief Committee. It's formed and dispersed and disbanded after the calamity. And it really, I have to say, is not something that's forced by us, but something that's totally voluntary by the people. It could be managers or otherwise. We also, at times of that nature, will the entire workforce, 400,000 people, will donate a day's wages for that calamity. There's nothing to do with us. It may be in another part of India. And we will match that or match it twice over as a company. And with it, we will undertake relief work. To give you an example, and I'll stop there, when there was an earthquake in Gujarat, we adopted 8 villages at that time. And if you went to Gujarat those first few days, every possible company was there in one form or another. Every political party was there with flags. Everybody providing blankets, clothes, etc. But a month after the earthquake, we were one of the few companies that were still there, and we rebuilt those 8 villages. And there weren't many other companies that were even around by that time, after the TV cameras left. And so I think it's something I can't really describe other than to say that that has to come from within the DNA of the company.